Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I have a what's for dinner video for you. It's kind of like one I did recently. They're not my typical what's for dinner. We didn't cook as much. This is a week leading up to Thanksgiving. I made 2 meals, both of which gave us leftovers. And I also have a really amazing dessert. It was so good. So we're actually gonna start with the dessert and then go into our 2 dinners. I hope that you enjoy these recipes. I'm trying out a recipe called Oreo dump cake. Don't really love the term dump in my food, but the idea is that you just dump everything in. So we're gonna give it a try. I'm already switching things up because the recipe calls for a 9x11 pan, and I'm not sure if I even have that, but I'm just doing a 9x13. Anyway, I'm taking this somewhere and it'll fit better in my carrier. Also, the recipe calls for a 15-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. And I realized mine's only 14 ounces. I feel like I've only ever seen the 14 ounce, but whatever. We're gonna start by taking my dish. It's very well greased. And it actually doesn't mention anything about greasing the pan, but I feel like that would be ridiculous to not. I'm just looking at it now and realizing that. I've got some Oreos or fake ones. I'm fine with fake ones. They're all good to me. And you're going to take 20 Oreos and spread them out the bottom of the pan. Now, because I'm using a slightly smaller pan, I'm going to do some extra and do 1 more row. Feel free to follow the actual recipe if you want. All right, now we want to top the Oreos with the sweetened condensed milk. I don't see how this recipe can be bad. So far, I'm enjoying all of the ingredients. I'm gonna make sure to get everything I can out of here since this is apparently 1 ounce less than I'm supposed to have. I think I did a pretty good job. Did I mention this is a 4-ingredient cake? Now this one confuses me a little bit because I've never done anything like this, but it calls for a container of whipped topping, but we are baking this. And to me, like, if you heat this up, this just turns into, you know, mush, but I guess that's part of, well, I don't know. I didn't write this recipe. Apparently it's a good thing. So, you want an 8-ounce tub of whipped topping. Mine is still a little cold. I forgot to take it out of the freezer yesterday. So I went and took it out earlier today. Well, like an hour ago. But it should be just fine. And we're gonna just spread this out on top. And like I said, I'm bringing this somewhere, so if it doesn't come out, you won't be seeing this video, and I'll be stopping at the store on my way. I always try out recipes when I'm going places, which seems like not the smartest thing to do, but whatever. All right, I unintentionally lied. There's 5 ingredients, but still pretty good. You want a 15.25 ounce box of chocolate cake mix. I just picked this one up at Aldi. And we're just going to sprinkle this across the top of the Cool Whip. I'm just going to use a fork to help spread this out. I can also gently break up some clumps this way. Not mixing it, I'm just wanting to spread it. So you don't want to go deep. You don't want to pull up that whipped topping mixture. All right, you want 3/4 cup of butter cut into slices, and you want to distribute this across the cake. All right, I'm gonna place this in the oven at 350 for 35 minutes. Okay guys, here it is out of the oven. I took the remaining Oreos, crushed them up, and sprinkled them on top. You wanna let this let this cool slightly before serving. We're taking it somewhere. We're taking it to a friend's giving, and we're actually gonna be outside. It's a nice day, but it's not like hot. So I'm going to cover mine with foil plus the lid, put it in this carrying pack, and stuff towels around it to hopefully still keep it warm. And I will serve it with whipped topping. So I will let you know how it is, because I have no idea. Today I'm making my first ever chicken wings. I'm gonna follow a recipe I found and see how it goes. I don't know if I need this full mixture. I'm actually gonna, I think, cut it in. No, I'm not. Don't mind me. You need a cup of flour. I was gonna cut it in half, but I think I'm gonna need the whole thing. We're gonna add a teaspoon each of onion powder, salt, chili powder, black pepper if you would like, paprika, and garlic powder. I never add black pepper if you're new here, so that's why I say if you like, but that is in the recipe. If you know me, then you know that I don't love handling raw meat that much, so I'm using some disposable gloves. I have a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, and we're just going to dredge our chicken wings in the flour mixture and put them on the baking sheet. All right, and I'm gonna put these in the oven at 425 for 40 minutes, but we're gonna turn them halfway. So 20 minutes, turn them, another 20 minutes. All right, so I'm gonna use this dish to mix the sauce because I do actually like dip the chicken wings in it, and I feel like this will be a good size for that. So you don't necessarily have to do this, but the recipe says it and it sounds good. So I'm not totally measuring this, but I'm gonna put about a cup of barbecue sauce and a half a cup of honey. I think I need more barbecue sauce. All right, I'm gonna call that good. Chicken wings will be out in about 10 minutes, and then we'll do this part. All right, so now the recipe says we want a clean sheet of parchment paper. So I'm going to move this carefully. Okay, that wasn't actually super easy because the parchment paper kept breaking. I have my cutting board back here that I was using to chop up my salad. So I just slid the parchment paper there. Got a fresh piece here. We're gonna take a wing. Fully coat it and put it on our clean parchment paper. All right, back in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes to get them nice and caramely. Alrighty, so there is our chicken wings and some nice salads. For tonight's dinner, I'm gonna be making a shepherd's pie soup. I will have the original recipe linked down below for you. I'm not following it quite exactly as usual, just based on what I have on hand, but I feel like it's one of those soups that as long as you like all the things you're putting in there, it's gonna come out good. So let me show you what I've got started back here. So I'm just browning up 1 pound of ground beef, and then I will drain the fat and then move the beef to another dish because we're gonna just keep using this pot for the other stuff. And back here, this is for some mashed potatoes. I only have a few little baby yellow potatoes. So this will be a smaller amount than normal, but it all goes in the soup. So I feel like it's gonna be just fine. So while I'm waiting for this to brown up, I'm gonna go ahead and chop up an onion. The recipe calls for 1 large onion. My onions are really small, so I could do 2, but I'm probably just gonna do 1 small onion. All right, so I drained the grease, moved the ground beef over here. Now I've got 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I did end up doing 2 onions because the onions were really, really small. We're gonna add those in. We're just gonna cook these for about 5 minutes over medium-ish heat. All right, so I put a couple of carrots in here as well because I was looking in the recipe and it calls for mixed frozen veggies, which I do not have. So I'm gonna use some fresh, some frozen, and some canned, but I knew the fresh needed to be in here. So I put those in with the onions to get them cooking. And I'm just gonna add in some garlic. We're gonna let that cook for about 1 minute. And now I'm gonna add in 1/4 cup of flour. We're gonna whisk that for about a minute. Wanna make sure you remove the flour taste here. And now we're gonna add a total of 4 cups of chicken broth. Just wanna do a little bit at a time in the beginning, especially because we're gonna scrape off anything that might be stuck on the bottom. as we go. And I'm gonna have to not film during all this. I started out filming with this overhead, and then my phone fell into raw ground beef. And if you know anything about me, you know that that was really big struggle for me. Sorry, my husband's watching hockey in the background if you can hear weird noises. So anyways, I'm holding the camera while I'm doing this. So we're just gonna keep adding this a little bit at a time, and then I'll be back with you. All right, so now I'm over to my potatoes, which as I was draining them, I lost 2 of them down the sink, down the garbage disposal. So didn't have much to begin with. We're just going to smash these. I'm just using a fork. They are so tender. And I think the recipe suggested, I mean, I guess you could do it any way you wanted, but adding in sour cream and butter. I'm adjusting all of this a little bit because I'm not making that much. In the potato department, but I think because it's going into the soup, it's really gonna add more of a thickener, and there's other stuff to add thickener, so I think it's gonna be fine. But I didn't really plan this ahead of time, and I happen to have just a little bit of these potatoes left, so that's why I'm going with it. All right, back to our broth. I've got all of the chicken broth added in. We're gonna add in about 3/4 of a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce and 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. Sorry, no, I was looking at the recipe instead of the camera. 1, 2. Now the recipe also calls for mustard powder and sage, and I don't have either of those. So we're just gonna go without them. All right, so here is another variation. I'm gonna add in 2 cups of milk. It says slowly. I don't know if that means like a little bit at a time or just pouring it slowly. I don't know. There's 2 cups. I'm using almond milk. The recipe calls for half and half. Now I know they're not equal. So to help add to the creaminess, I'm going to add in some sour cream, and I feel like that will, again, not actually equal to half and half, but that should help get it creamy. All right, so as I'm mixing in the sour cream, I did turn up the heat because we want to bring this to a boil, and then we will reduce down to a simmer. All right, so it came to a boil and I just turned it back down. We're going to go ahead and add in our potatoes, the little bit that there is. So let me do that real quick. All right, now we just want to combine the potatoes in here. It says you can use like an immersion blender, which I was going to do, but because I already put my carrots in, I don't want to like puree them. So I mashed the potatoes really, really good, and I'm just going to work them in to this for just a minute here. And I'm gonna add in our cooked ground beef. I'm trying not to splash. I didn't really show you what I was doing, but I didn't really splash bad. And then I'm gonna add in some frozen green beans, and then I'm just gonna do a can of corn. I'm not positive, but I think the total amount of vegetables was about 1.5 cups. But we're just gonna let this go for about 5 minutes to get the frozen veggies heated through. All right, so I pulled the soup off of the heat, and we're going to gradually add in about 2 cups of shredded cheese and just stir that in until it melts. Then you want to add salt and pepper to taste. I'm just going to add salt because I don't like pepper, but pepper will be on the table if my husband wants to add some. All right, I topped mine with just a little bit of shredded cheese. And it does say it'll thicken as it sits, but we're just gonna go for it. That's gonna do it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. Thanks so much for sticking around. I know my videos are a little bit different than they had been in the past, but I'm just trying to film a real life, what I'm actually doing, what I actually have going on. So that's what you're getting. I hope that you enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.